This is what's going to separate you from the rest of the talent. This is the thing that's going to make you the money. This is going to maximize your performance as a voice actor. And it is critical that you follow through with this. How do you direct yourself? Well, to answer that question, you need to actually, I'll bring up a script now, ask yourself other questions. Okay, here it is. Washington Post script. This is something that is real. After you familiarize yourself with the script, read it out loud, get a feel for the word transition, develop a little bit of muscle memory with your mouth, and some word transitions are difficult sometimes. Proper names, geographic areas are tough. Once you figure that out, you're going to direct yourself. How do you direct yourself? The questions you're going to ask. First, what is my attitude about what I'm saying? Who am I speaking to? What is my relationship to the people that I'm speaking to? Do I know them? Do I not know them? We talk to different people in different ways. We talk to our brothers and sisters and parents differently than we talk to our spouses or children or boss or strangers, or the way we're about to speak to one another shortly. It's all different. And if you don't make those choices, they're all choices, and that's what acting is, making a choice. If you don't do that, you're just reading words. And to me, that's the cardinal sin in voiceover. What I call a default delivery. I know some of you listening now and watching sometimes hear, when you listen from audition to audition to audition, that they all sound the same. That's because you're just using your default delivery, the delivery that makes you feel the most comfortable, the one that it comes out in your own mind's ear. It sounds good. It's safe. It feels safe, but it's all the same, and usually includes no choices whatsoever. You might get lucky. It's like throwing darts or see what sticks to the wall. You might get lucky and get shortlisted or get a job, but your batting average will go way up when you make choices, when you figure out all these different parameters and permutations of what's going on. Here's a dummy script from the Washington Times. And let's assume that we've all read this and we're familiar with it. How am I going to figure out or analyze the script and execute in my own way? Not only do you not want to do your default delivery, kind of your announcer thing. Today, facts matter, so your news must come from a factual. That's garbage. You're talking to real people, and you don't talk to real people that way. If you do, you're assumed to be drunk or suffered some sort of injury, because it's just not natural. And by the way, as an aside, there's a difference between being conversational and being natural. The way I'm speaking now is conversational. You usually don't want to do that because it's too sloppy. It's sort of all over the place and it's not really focused. What you want to do is execute these steps that I teach and do that in a natural way, so that it doesn't get in the way of itself. You never want your performance, your read, to call attention to itself. That's a problem. You want the attention to be on the message. So here's a script, Washington Times. It's a radio script. I do. Those of you in Washington, D.C. do a lot of work for WTOP, the news station up there. So Washington Times wants this copy done, this read. All right. Who am I speaking to? Well, clearly in the D.C. metro area, DMV area, we're talking to people that really rely on the news for their bread and butter. A lot of government employees, many people that are government contractors, all of their, or many of their decisions, most of their business decisions are made on or based on news-driven events. So I'm talking to primarily educated people, radio listeners, probably stuck in traffic on their way to work. And when I'm speaking to them, I'm also sort of picking up little tidbits of, well, what does this really mean today? Facts matter. Well, if you think about, especially starting a few years ago, all this fake news uh, conversation that's been going on. There's so much fake news out there. So really, that is what they are pointing to. You got to get your news from a factual and credible source, not from Facebook, not from your uncle who knows everything about everything. Hell-bent liberal or hell-bent conservative, where their viewpoints are skewed. No, you want real facts. Let's look at this script some more. What are some of the words that really resonate? Factual, credible, trust. Facts matter. All right. So to the people who are listening, to the audience that I'm really trying to resonate with, I want to speak to them. I'm going to, in this how do you direct yourself scenario, visualize a scene or scenario in which I'm talking to real people or a real person. Well, to whom am I speaking? Well, it's my choice. It's all about making choices. Again, that's what acting is. When you're making a choice, it's your own. And that's how you're going to own the script, how it's going to sound like you, how you're going to sound real, and how you're going to sound different than every other audition or job that you've done, and sound different than everybody else. Everyone else is just going to read linearly, word after word after word after word, word after word. It's that, again, that default delivery where it just feels comfortable. But no, I'm thinking about maybe I'm in the car and I'm talking to a couple of friends, and they're like, I just don't know where to get my news from. I can't really put my finger on a source, because it's just, everything is unbelievable. I mean, there's no credibility. And I'm talking to my friends, and in this scenario, before I get to the script, I'm going to ramp up. I'm going to sort of ad lib into the script, and then you're going to hear me dovetail seamlessly from my ramp up into the script. So yeah, I'm talking to my friends now. It's really important to get real news. All this stuff you see, you just don't know where it comes from. And then somebody gets their news from a news source and they repeat it, and it goes on. It's like an endless loop. But I think we can all agree when we talk about this today, facts matter. So your news must come from a factual and credible source. When great minds and decision makers look for real facts, they trust us. Okay, this line, we are the Washington Times. That's not something you would say in a conversation. This is where you have to go and forget about being conversational and be believable. We are the Washington Times. From national politics, this is what they do. They do this and that. Exclusive content every day. I'm just going on and on and on, kind of ad-libbing through this, because I want some of our viewers to go through this as well. But does that make sense as far as that dovetailing? And hopefully you couldn't hear the difference between when I'm just talking to my friends in the car and then I'm into the script, and it's so natural and it just flows, and it has a point of view and an attitude that, yes, facts matter. This is critical. And here's where you're going to get your facts. The Washington Times. I'm being emphatic, because every script that you do as a commercial is the best product or service ever. That's what the agency or the client wants. So within its category, it's the best. And that's a choice. You can be cynical, but that's not going to work. Your choices have to be appropriate and make sense. So does that make sense?
I think that's a really great point, and something that I've learned more and more and come to love is exactly like you said there, in regards to creating a scenario where you are in that space, where you're not just reading words off the screen, you're becoming part of the script, and that's going to allow you to not only give your best read, but I think it's something that me and you chatted about earlier, in regards to there's going to be, 50 people, submitting for this read. So it's
Mhm.
how you do it, that's going to set you apart, being able to make it unique to yourself and dive into that, in a personal way,
Mhm.
is what sets you apart. Right.
Exactly. Borrowing from your life experiences, your personality. Um, there are many scripts that are about things we can't relate to at all, highly technical things. Like how do I make that relatable? How do I relate to that? Well, I may not understand exactly what the product is, and to be credible, I better be able to pronounce the words and be comfortable saying them. But beyond that, as far as understanding what we're talking about, uh, you might want to do a little bit of research, just YouTube it and see, okay, basically that's what that is. But if you still can't get a handle on what it is that's being discussed, then borrow from your experience. If we're talking about a chronosynclastic infundibulum and how it does this, this, and this to the sonar tech data that's being, whatever that gobbledygook is, I don't know what it is, but I do know that I like uh, my new laptop computer, and I can tell you about that. And so I'm just going to sort of replace the words with the words that are in the script, and that's the hard part. Taking someone else's words, understanding the intent of the writer, and at the same time making them your own, making them uh, a part of you. And that's what's going to get you work. That's what's going to get you noticed. You are different than anyone else. You may have the same name, and it sounds obvious, but follow this. Your perspective on life, your personality, your voice, your life experiences are all your own. And if you tap into that, you are going to be great because you are the only person that is an expert at being you. If you try to emulate someone else, it's not going to work. If you try to believe, if you try to sound like you believe what you're saying, it's not going to work because you have to believe it. So dive into uh, the things that you can relate to, and just sort of, I guess, transition from whatever that thing was that I just made up to, all right, I love my laptop. I'm going to talk about that, but with these words. Um, be you. You are the best at being you. No one else can be you. And I don't know who said this, but you got to be you because everyone else is taken. So be you and really connect in your own way, and you're going to sound so different than anyone else. Your auditions, every audition that you do, will sound completely different if you create in your mind's eye, visualize, talk to a real person that you know, and you're going to need practice to do it, but to do this is worth the effort. And this is the only way that you're going to cut through. This is the only way that you're going to be relevant. There are a million people in the world, millions of people with beautiful voices that can read, but that's not enough. Think back to some of the media, uh, radio, TV, commercials, documentaries, all those things. Have you noticed you don't hear you hear some pretty powerful voices, but not all of them. Some of them are just average Joe, average Jane voices, but they connect. Like they really mean what they're saying. They don't just sound like it, they mean it. And this is the thing that was beaten into me, not literally, but um, because I just heard it over and over and over and over again when I was young, thankfully, that it's amazing to me when I hear auditions from people that need coaching. They come to me and they don't do it. They just do the same thing with every script. And another issue with not doing this, I will get questions all the time as a coach. Do I need a website? What about a headshot? Should I change my name? Should I do this, and that? What sites should I go on? Should I go on voices.com? And especially for new talent, it's really important to ask this question first, and that is, how do I become great? How do I become a professional voice actor? That's those other things are putting the cart before the horse. Get really good at doing this. Practice. Listen to yourself. That's the other key. We don't hear ourselves accurately at all. I'm losing my voice a little bit, so forgive me. It probably sounds worse to you than me because I don't hear my voice. Especially when we're reading words, we usually speak a lot faster than we think we do. How many have listened back to an audition and it's like, oh my gosh, that is way too fast. And we typically speak more flatly, emotionally. We believe we're using more inflection than we really are. And you listen back and like, wow, that is just dead. So the importance of recording yourself and listening back is critical. You got to do it so that you can learn how to attenuate it, modulate, control your own voice in the way that you want to, so that you know when you're trying to sound really excited about the Washington Times, you sound excited. It's going to feel weird at first. It's going to feel awkward. You'll probably feel like you're laboring, trudging through the script, reading too slow, and that you're way over the top as far as your enthusiasm for the script. But don't worry about what it feels like. It's all about what it sounds like. And that's, again, why recording yourself is so important. You must get used to what it feels like to sound the right way. Don't base your critique of yourself in real time. And here's how I know you're doing that. These unusual pauses. Today facts matter. So your news must come from a factual, incredible source. Those little micro pauses, that I extended them just for demonstration, is usually a sign of somebody assessing their performance right in the middle of the performance. That means you're not focused on your scenario. You're not focused on the meaning of the script. You're only worried about your voice and whether you're hitting the sweet spot or not. That's do that kind of thing when you're practicing. Get used to the voices that live in your head, whether it's a character voice, whether it's your real voice, whether it's your documentary voice, whatever it is. Make sure that you understand it and understand what it sounds like before you execute. And I know there's a lot of balls in the air, juggling, trying to keep the pace right. Got to slow down. Got to make sure I'm using the words to direct me. All those things. Well, I'll explain that in a second. But if you can practice each little technique, like a golf swing or driving a car, then you're going to conquer this as well. So don't worry if it doesn't all come together at first. It will, but you got to practice and record.
You've done a really cool demonstration here that I think captures really well in regards to, like you said, sounding excited versus being excited. And I know previously when we chatted, you gave a little bit of a demonstration versus, might raise your voice and, you might think you sound excited, but, it doesn't necessarily mean you're up in that range. Could you kind of go over that for a minute?
Yeah, that's all part of that whole default delivery thing that I was talking about, where people, we as voice actors feel like we're really connected and excited about what we're saying when we pitch our voice up. And we're way up here with our voice, and it's like, oh my gosh, I really sound like I care what I'm talking about. And that's not how to do it. Or using what I call vocal gymnastics, where you're up and you're down. And that's kind of like a radio announcer kind of thing, where you're talking like this and all of a sudden you're down like this. And oh my gosh, it's a cloudy 43 degrees here in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And that's crap. That's garbage. That's not how we talk to people. First of all, when you're way up here, it may feel like you're excited and connected on an emotional level, but all you're doing is eliminating the lower register of your voice, which is the money zone. Your voice, all of our voices sound better in the lower tones. And I'm not saying force your voice down. I'm saying keep your voice in its normal range. The other problem with speaking up here is the only other place to go is down. So use vocal range, but do so appropriately. Don't gratuitously just sort of modulate your voice up and down without it making make sense. Today facts matter. Today facts matter. No, today facts matter. I'm really meaning it now. Today facts matter. And I can modulate that. I can pull back a little bit, and I can push it more. It just depends on, again, how I want to direct myself. And again, if I'm not doing that, just reading words, that's not going to get you anywhere. And many people get frustrated. Why aren't I moving the needle? I audition and audition and audition, and nothing's happening. And that's because I'm going to guess 98% of the time it's because you're just going with the voice that you're comfortable with. And that's not good. That's not good for the listener. It may feel good for you. It may sound right. But no, you're connecting on an emotional level from the heart. What comes from the heart is what goes to the heart. And it's so critical in sales, in commercials, in acting. The client is going to want to hear that as well. Think about the client's perspective. Put your feet in the client's shoes. So she wants you to do this commercial about whatever, her new product. And she's going to pay you a lot of money to do it. But it's very expensive. Sometimes these clients have their life savings vested in these things. They want to come off exceedingly sharp and shiny and beautiful, and everything needs to sound great. I mean, they expect it all. And to just talk like this without even really putting anything into it doesn't do it. But if they get a real read, a believable performance, they're going to be like, yeah, that's who I want. You might get a thumbs up, plenty of thumbs ups, but that's really, and I think you would be able to attest this more than I. That's really more of a reminder for the client to be like, yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. That one. So then they go back and they choose the top ones that they're shortlisting, and you may never hear anything again. Like I said, you might get lucky just defaulting, doing your default delivery, but it's not going to work very often at all. That's the difference.
Definitely. I know between the demonstrations and the content there, probably have lots of questions. So now is the time. There is the Q&A section down at the bottom for anybody who has some questions. Punch it in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Again, if we don't get to any questions, feel free to reach out to Tommy. He's more than happy to help you out. Again, his website is tommygriffiths.com. That's Tommy, GRIFFITHS.com. Feel free to look him up and reach out. But I'll start from the top of the list here. And actually, the first question I see here is from Tiffany. So,
okay.
How do you read script that is cut and dry, like how to operate a machine safely, or something like that, where maybe you don't have that emotional connection? I know you touched briefly on this a couple times, but how would you really try to make that your own and allow someone to dive into that.
It's up there.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. You kind of cut out there for a second.
Yeah, same thing happened over here. So, yeah, how do you read a script that are really cut and dry? Example, how to operate a machine safely. How do you really kind of emotionally connect on that when you don't have that emotional attachment, from previous memory or experience?
I don't think you can get emotional about operating machinery, but you can care, and you can find it interesting. And again, to sound interesting when doing a script, you must be interested. So to answer your question, be interested, whether you understand it or not. Therefore, to sound interesting, care about who you're speaking to. If it's a safety video, it's like, listen, I care about your safety. I don't want you to cut an arm off. Please don't. So here's what you do. Make sure that part A goes into part B first. But then you got to do this, this, and this. And it's a matter of finding the thing that you can be interested in, that you are interested in, and borrowing from that. It's a good question. And to really figure it out, you're going to have to record yourself and listen back. Practicing isn't just mumbling through a script. It's performing it, figuring out your scenario, making your choices, figuring out how you're going to direct yourself, and then recording it. And then you're going to see a big difference in your performances.
Definitely. And I think you're right. Those, each script and end client's going to be, looking for something different. The need to get emotional or too invested personally, isn't as much required in something like that. Like Tommy said, just show that interest and that genuine care about, at least what you're speaking to and the safety at hand.
And one of the things you can do with coaching, when I'm coaching, I will share anonymously auditions of different people doing the same script, and then you can hear where whatever they did really worked, or maybe it didn't work. I can also play auditions from people that actually got the job with that audition, so you can hear how they did it. When it's not just coaching that I do, it's also producing world-class demos. And there are many different agencies that will come to me and say, hey, I need XYZ sort of voice. And there are a lot of people that have been hired to do that. And many of the companies that I work with, they have a sort of a voice roster that various agencies will choose from. And so I can take you as a voice talent into that, and you can hear how other people are doing what I'm explaining. You can hear what it sounds like when it's done correctly, and you can hear what it sounds like when you just ignore everything I just said.
I think that's a really cool tidbit there in regards to what you're able to do in showing different perspectives, different voices all along the same script. It can help greatly. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So the next question here is from Benita. Can you put too much emotion in your voice?
You can go over the top. You can go way over the top and just be, as I explained, using the upper register in your voice and take it way over the top. And you can just be totally unenthusiastic and flat. And it's your job with the choices that you make in performing. If you don't make choices, what are you doing? Just reading words. It's your job with your abilities and creativity to find the sweet spot in between way up here emotionally and vocally and way down here. Many clients, and I think you'd agree as well, aren't really sure what they're looking for, but they know it when they hear it. So as a professional voice actor, it's up to you to show them, hey, this is what works. This is what works, and it works for this script. And here's my iteration of my performance for this. So yeah, and yeah, you can put too much or too little into something. You just got to find that little target, that little sweet spot.
Definitely. Definitely. And this is a little bit more of a gear one. Somebody's wondering, Tommy, what mic do you use?
I've got, let's see, I've got this one. It's my Sennheiser shotgun mic. And it's, I'm trying to figure out, this one is the, let's see, where are we here? The MKH 418. And it's used primarily, like on movie sets and things, but it's very directional. So you could probably hear a difference in my voice here and my voice here. And it's really good if you're in a noisy environment because it is so directional. If you got a construction site in your backyard and a dog kennel next door, you're going to have problems. And then, that's just the box, the Neumann, the 103.
The TLM 103.
Yes, and they're both very different. I like this one because it's more forgiving. I remember when I first started using the Neumann mics, you almost have to retrain how you do stuff because they're so sensitive, and you got to kind of back off a little bit, and it's really sensitive. But this is my fave so far.
Sennheiser seems to be an extremely good brand that a lot of pros use there. So
the only problem with this one is it's $1,000, and the Neumann is like 1,300. But there are other versions of this that will work as well. There's a point of diminishing returns when it comes to gear investment, and you don't have to spend a lot of money.
So I mean, we are at 2:00, so I will leave with the last question of Tommy. What is I know we've shouted out a couple times there, but what is the best way for someone to get in contact with you? And yeah, we'll leave off on that question.
Thank you, Kyle. TommyGriffiths.com. I don't know if you can see that from.
I have seen that once or twice sliding across.
So, I'm going to put a little billboard behind me. TommyGriffiths.com. And my phone number, 757-404-0833. I'm on the East Coast, Eastern Time, in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Yeah, and you can contact me, anytime. I will call you back. And we'll, like I said, if you have a question, some people will call up and just start asking basically 50 questions, and suddenly it's a coaching session. Okay. But yeah, there's all kinds of different packages, as far if you want, I do a thing called an audition diagnosis, where if you've got a few auditions that you've done for voices.com and you want some input on how to fix those, it's relatively inexpensive. And so on, all the way through the full package where it's like an unlimited number of coaching and demo production. And it's very helpful. And it's not as a coach, it's a relationship. It's not like an institution, brick and mortar institution. It's, if you got questions, when we're done with the demo, I'm not going to kick you from the nest and say bye-bye. It's you got a question, go ahead, email it, text, and it only takes a second to answer. So I hope that helped everyone. And I saw
some great things in the chat. Everyone seems to be loving and appreciating the wisdom you dropped on us today. And I think I actually saw a student in there. Can I get, where'd that comment go? I saw a student in there. Crap, I can't find it. Just shouting out saying, hey, great webinar, Tommy. They had just joined with you, and they've loved the experience so far. So,
Good.
So that was cool to see.
Excellent. Well, good luck, everyone. Never give up.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Appreciate you carving out an hour of time. And anybody who will be watching at a later date, thank you for taking the time to watch. Tommy, as always, so great to have you. Thank you for dropping the wisdom on us today. And as always, I hope we have the chance to do more of these in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And one parting note, don't ever do that again to a microphone. Never. All right.
Love it. Love it. Well, everybody, we'll leave you there. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Peace out.
See you, Tom.